All right, welcome. Welcome to February 25th. We got NVIDIA this afternoon. We got the big boy this afternoon. All 24 billion shares of its float this afternoon. I think everything this week has been waiting for NVIDIA, but only one way to find out, and that is seeing what the numbers are this afternoon. So without further ado, let's check out EarningsLottos.com. And we got a lot of time today, so let's do, I know I said I was going to short hymns for the pick'em, but I didn't do that because my lizard brain got the better of me, and I got scared. So instead, what we're going to do is we have Salesforce and we have CoreWeave left. CoreWeave is tomorrow, and Salesforce is this afternoon. I'm so conflicted on both of these stocks. We got Salesforce, we got CoreWeave, which is more data center type stuff. I'm gonna go against the crowd here. I know there's like 1750 on the up for CoreWeave, 600 on down, but you know what? I like it. I like the down move on CoreWeave. So let's go 280 on Core. Let's do 280 on CoreWeave. I'll take my balance down to 9K, a nice smooth 9K. And just to make things spicy, let's do 500 on Salesforce down. All right, we're gonna lock it in, place the bets. So I'm leaking earnings, I'm leaking EL bucks, but we're not at zero. I've had a decent run. I started off the pick'em pretty hot. Iron really crushed me. That was not good. Lost 1,200 by EL bucks there. Lost 420 on coin. But we got it back with Wafer. Anyways, we'll see what happens with CRM and CoreWeave. But still, first place, Timbo Flip. He cannot be unseated. He is the EarningsLottos Pick'em GOAT right now. So whatever Timbo Flip says, you should probably do, because that man has been correct. Let's check out the deep dive for this week. So this week, the 23rd to the 27th, like I said, NVIDIA reports this afternoon. And a lot of stocks have been I think they've been waiting for NVIDIA to report just because, right? It's one of the biggest in the market. But it does have a massive share float. So for anyone thinking about trading NVIDIA this afternoon, keep in mind it's going to need a lot of liquidity to move that stock up or down. We'll look at it in a second, but 23 or 24 billion shares, that is a lot to move. But it can happen. I think NVIDIA has one move over 10% in the last 2 years. So for those of you clinging on to hope, you got a little shred of hope. Let's check out we'll just look at the tops for this week so far. So we got Duolingo, has not reported yet. Axon already reported. Axon reported this morning, and as you can see, it is going to get a plus 10%. That's actually a 20% plus up move today. These contracts were pretty pricey. They were a little juiced, but like we have said over and over, with the top candidates, anything that can consistently move over 10% in a certain direction, that one is worth paying up for within 10% up or down. So if you had the liquidity, if you had the premium in your account and you took Axon, congrats to you. That was a big baller move. Elastic yet to report Thursday afternoon. It'll report the same day as Duolingo. Pure Storage is kind of a spicy one. That reports this afternoon. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Transmedics already reported. Not the best. That one chopped. Looks like, it reported yesterday afternoon, but unfortunately that is a dud. It is bound to happen. Not all these are going to, as you guys know, you trade the market consistently, not everything always pans out the way we want, but we put ourselves in the situations that are the best setups, and we trust that the plays work. If they don't, we can't get mad at it. AMBA, that's another one Thursday afternoon. That is another good one, semiconductor related play there. We'll look at the cheapies really quick. I like the cheapies personally sometimes. I did trade Zeta calls yesterday. I think I have the March 20th 1750 calls. I believe those are slightly red, if not like break even right now. But I like the company fundamentally. I think it's strong for the next month or so. So I'll hold my 1750 there and just kind of trust that it works out. Shoals, SHLS, that one reported Tuesday morning, and I think it tanked 30%. So if you pay attention to these cheapy stocks here, some of them can have pretty interesting moves. You just want to make sure that you're playing closer to the money with the cheaper stocks. Let's take a look at, so Monday and Tuesday have already passed. Luckily for us, the only one that's really moved was Axon. Keys did move pretty well Monday afternoon into Tuesday morning. FSLR, that one tanked. Kava, that popped 10+%. Like I said, Zeta, kind of flattish, a little up. I don't think it'll get a 10% move, but that's okay. Workday, disappointing. I believe GoDaddy also reported that was pretty good. Oddity, if anyone liked puts, Oddity puts went crazy. That was down, I think at one point it was down 53%. I think we shared, I shared the 25p on Twitter yesterday, and it's down to, I think it's down, let's check it out. I think it's down to 13 or 14. That thing got smoked. I did not look at the fundamentals of the earnings report to see exactly like what happened there with Odd. But that was a crazy move. Where is Odd? Let's search for Odd. Yeah, there it was. Oh, it was this morning. So it was this morning. 48%. That's crazy. A pretty good EL score, even though it didn't have that many moves over 10%. So always keep an eye on the EL score. I personally like 50 and above. 60 is my personal sweet spot. We have added a new, and Odd doesn't really have the greatest liquid options right now, so that's okay. We did add, we'll look at it once we look at the stocks reporting this afternoon, tomorrow morning. But I did add a little section that has more fundamental type data in it. So anything that can give us an edge, I want to include. And I think this new data will kind of aid in helping us find stocks that don't have the best EL scores, but have some kind of fundamental promise to them. So with that said, let's look at the stocks reporting this afternoon. Let's get into play. It's almost 3:30. We'll look at the contract charts at 3:30. I will post some of those to Twitter, and then we'll maybe get in a position here and kind of find what we like. So we'll start off with PSTG first. This is a data storage play. And I think actually they recently, I want to say like in the last week, they rebranded as a company called Everpure, I think. So there's some juice to this there. I like these strikes right here. I like these. I like this price, this $4 contract price and the $3 contract price. That to me implies that these are bought. They're not sold. So this is both sides a bullish position, right? We think the call's going to go up. We think the put's going to go up. That put volume over interest is really interesting to me. I mean, even though this stock is up, I think it's up, 9% on the day? It's up almost 9.5% on the day. I still kind of like PSTG. It can make some really weird moves. And with a rebrand, there's definitely some uncertainty there, right? Is the rebrand going to be positive for the company? Is it going to be profitable? Is it going to be negative for the company? There's a lot of unknown there. So me as a shareholder with PSTG, I'd be a little wary of that rebrand, but that's me. I'm a skeptical guy by nature, so maybe don't listen to me on that. But I like the put here. I like the put. And again, if it's an ESS play, so if it has this little, if it has a high EL score here, so 87, it can consistently move over 10%. This is one you're gonna want to strangle. Even if let's say you're bearish and you want to buy some puts, get a call just to offset it. If you're bullish, get a put just to offset it. Stocks like this have proven they can make meaningful moves, so it is always worth to strangle. PSTG, I think I'm going to take that one, but we got some time. Lot of ball left. Let's look at Snow. Oh, we didn't look at the narrative. Let's look at the narrative intel really quick for PSTG. So anything with a moon, you see a moon or you see a fire emoji, those are key. That's what you want to look for. So PSTG, data center leverage, they do AI storage, infrastructure, and it has a pretty good growth metric. So keep that in mind too. So I like PSTG. That is a solid one for this afternoon. Let's check out Snowflake. Snowflake, I am so uncertain about this stock fundamentally. There is a lot of growth to it. This is interesting. Look at these. Look at this liquidity strangle. Look, we got the 170, call it $9, pretty pricey, and we have the 145. This to me, all right. So this looks bullish, right? They're buying the $9 strike. They're gonna, or $9 contract at the 170 strike. They're gonna. It looks like they're also buying the 145 to hedge. That's what I would imagine. Because remember, again, Snowflake has a high EL score. It can consistently make moves over 10% up or down. So the smart traders that know that, they're buying the 170 and they're also buying the 145. I kind of like this. The only thing that kind of makes me wary here is the 170 is right at the money. So that's almost the same as buying an in the money call to me. So maybe Snowflake grinds up, but maybe it doesn't get the biggest pop. That's kind of what this looks like to me. But Snow is a decent one to keep an eye on. Actually, I think Snow is a pretty strong one to keep an eye on this afternoon. So PSTG, Snow, really good candidates. Root. Don't know much about Root. I know what I do know is they just are involved in like auto, like car insurance and that kind of thing. So I don't really know too much about Root. But we can look at the technicals. We can kind of look at the narrative intel to get a decent idea of whether it's something we should trade for earnings. And right off the bat, the narrative intel is telling me to kind of shy away from Root. So already I'm kind of skeptical of Root. I don't know if it's something I want to get into. And the options, the liquidity strangle kind of backs that up for me. I don't like any of these contract prices. That 105 call at 71% out of the money. That 50 cents, those are, I don't even have to look at something like Unusual Whales. I know that's sold. I know those are on the bid. Maybe this is a bearish play. Maybe the 50 put right here, maybe that's what's worth getting into. So keep an eye on Root to the downside. There might be something there. It's kind of a little too cheap for me personally, that $50 share price or $60 share price. Because what's a 10% move off 60? That's $6, like a $6 move. So even the 50 put that we're picking up here, that's still more than, I mean, as you can see, it's 18.5% out of the money. It's still more than 10% away from what we would want to buy. So keep an eye on Root. This 50 put, this might be a little too ambitious, but still nonetheless, Root to me looks bearish just off this. But I don't like it as a trade just because of the narrative intel here. So Root, I'm probably going to fade. I feel good about fading it. Let's look at Urban Outfitters. Urban Outfitters. I was in a mall. I mean, the first time I've been in a mall in years. But I was in the mall recently and I saw the Nike store and the Urban store. Nike was packed. I didn't really see that many people on Urban. Anecdotal evidence means nothing. But for me, in my own head, that's kind of how I work narratives personally. Retail was hot. I think a couple of quarters ago, like we had Abercrombie pop, we had American Eagle pop. I want to say Urban also popped that same quarter. There was like one or two quarters back to back where retail stocks really did well. So if you're into that kind of thing, Urban might not be a bad one. To me, this looks up. This is really not giving me much to go off of here with the liquidity strangle that we're picking up. But yeah, I would bet on the up for this. When I look at the narrative intel, we get the Ice Cube here. It's a consumer grinder, limited torque on Urban. I don't think Urban's worth playing at all. I think if you're trading one of these strikes, I think you're forcing the play. So that's something to keep in mind. I think the narrative intel shies me away from Urban Outfitters right off the bat. So Urban's another one this afternoon. Trade Desk. I remember when Trade Desk, I mean, we can look like in the fall it was $40, but I feel like even before then, I feel like it was in the 80s. I mean, I think in one of the quarters I was buying 120 calls to hedge. So this stock has just been getting slammed for probably like a year or two straight. This is one worth playing, right? The narrative intel thinks that it's one with some juice. It's got some good narrative torque. It's got good institutional growth. I just don't have any real faith in TTD personally, and I really dislike the share price. So I don't like this $25 share price because, again, we talk about 10% moves a lot because 10% is kind of the baseline. And a 10% move off $25 is like $2.50. That doesn't entice me at all. So we can look at some of these strikes that we're picking up as far as options go, and the 30 call is way out of the money. The 23 put is within a 10% move, so I kind of like that one. But this like $80, I'm gonna turn $80 a contract, or I don't like that. 80 cents, I don't like that. $80 for one contract, that's not really my thing. So TTD is an option for this afternoon. Not really enticing to me. Nothing really stands out about it. I'm gonna fade TTD personally, but it has better metrics than Urban. I don't say metrics. It has a better narrative intel than Urban, and it's got a better narrative intel than Root. So if I was trading Root or Urban, I would rather trade TTD. I don't know if that made sense, but I would rather trade TTD over Urban or Root, despite the fact TTD has a lower share price. That's all I'm going to say. We can look at some other ones because there are some interesting ones this afternoon. So Nutanix, that's a very interesting one for this afternoon. Half the time it has moved over 10% in an earnings reaction. So not a bad one, not a bad play. Interesting strike prices here. This call looks like it could go either way. This dollar contract price, that could be bought, it could be sold. I'm not really sure. This 267, this 37p, that definitely looks like it's bought. So I would lean to the downside on Nutanix, whatever, NTNX. I would lean to the downside on that. And I do like the narrative intel here for a move. So I kind of like the puts on NTNX, but it's one worth strangling because it can make some pretty decent moves either way. Teladoc, not really into. We got the narrative intel shying me away. Sezzle, keep in mind, Sezzle is somewhat of a new stock. It doesn't have that many quarters under its belt in terms of reporting history. So while you do see it's only made 2 moves over 10% in the last 8 quarters, I want to say it might have only reported 3 quarters so far. So 2 out of 3 is not a bad metric. I like the narrative intel here. It's got good growth. Axon, I want to say it also had the narrative torque was also showing around 30% growth. These contract prices, not bad. 11% out of the money on the call side, 20% of the money. This looks like a bullish setup to me. This looks like people are hedging with the cheaper put here, the $2.23 put or the $2.23 put. So I think I would lean bullish on Sezzle. At 70 call is kind of interesting, but for me is not a must play. But Sezzle calls do look interesting to me. FTAI, kind of interesting. Not that many moves over 10% in the last 2 years. But it's got some interesting narrative intel to it. It has really good narrative torque, or really good growth as far as narrative torque. And I do not like, but I don't like this. I don't like, what is this, 28% out of the money? It's a 15-cent contract. I'm going to fade FTAI, but this one, I don't know, maybe the puts, look at this put, 280 put, and we got 1,300 contracts traded today over a 1,600 open interest. And that $4 contract price tells me that these are probably bought. Maybe these are sold. Well, these are definitely sold. I don't know why it would show, it would find a strike price like that, but regardless, maybe the FTI puts, maybe there's something there. If you are okay with spending close to like $400 to $500 a contract, I don't know. Maybe there's something there with FTAI to the downside. SNPS. Now this one went crazy. Look, you can see the down move right here. It was last year. That thing. It was in the. I think it was in the winter. Yeah. Anyways, it was around here somewhere. But this thing tanked. I had one. I can't remember the strike price, but I have one contract. I bought it at like $170 and sold for a little over 10,000. It was probably the best percentage gain earnings play I've ever had. So SNPS is always on people's radar because of that big move. It doesn't have the best. Now, it doesn't have the best history in terms of moves over 10%. Right? It's like UNH. UNH doesn't have the best history of moves over 10% in earnings reports, but every once in a while it does something weird and it moves really big. So that's why people are looking at SNPS. I like the narrative intel here. If you are a ballsy cowboy type trader, SNPS might be a pretty good one for you, but I would strangle it for sure. Both of these contract prices to me looks like they're bought. $2.40, $3.50. The put looks a little more enticing because it's closer. It's only 10% out of the money versus 14%. But SNPS, interesting one, can make some pretty weird moves. ENVX, sticky batteries, that does not interest me. IMAX, CRM, not interested. Zoom, not really interested. TKO, never interested in TKO. I feel like people try to force this one a lot. But look, the last 2 years, it's never moved over 10%. I hate getting into trades or companies, stocks that haven't even moved once over 10% in the last 2 years. So TKO, I would avoid that. If it does make a crazy move, okay, we put it on the list, we consider it for next quarter, but I'm not into burning money on hope, right? We got IonQ, so we got a quantum name reporting, we got AI, which this one had been getting hammered on ERs. Not really interested in those. Not great narrative intel. TCOM, maybe a little interested in TCOM. Actually, these look interesting to me. This 55 call, pretty well priced, good volume over open interest. This tells me that they're probably bought. And I think Expedia? No, I think Expedia dropped. I'm not sure what their numbers were, but travel and that kind of thing, all kind of related. BKNG reported last week, and for the life of me, I can't remember their numbers either. But you got to be bullish on travel. So kind of like TCOM, but not enough to really get it. So far, my favorites are still PSTG and Snowflake, personally. Let's look at some others this afternoon. Nothing really standing out. TaskMat. All right. For you NVIDIA degenerates, and then I'm gonna post some contracts in a minute or two. Well, we'll keep talking. If I don't post them on Twitter fast enough, it's fine. At least we're talking about it here. NVIDIA, good narrative intel, right? It's NVIDIA. But it's got such a look. We'll look at the EL score. 23 billion shares is so much. I can't think of another stock that has more shares in its float. Maybe Amazon, Apple, maybe Microsoft, but I don't really think so. I think NVIDIA has the most out of those that I just mentioned. These strike prices are crazy. I mean, if you are going to play NVIDIA, the 200 call is obviously your best bet. It's almost 2% out of the money, and it's got good volume over open interest. I wouldn't be surprised if a mix of those are bought and sold. But to me, NVIDIA, and then look at this is crazy. 39,000 contracts over an OI of 23K is crazy to me. But yeah, there's a lot of liquidity in Nvidia, and it's going to need that much liquidity to move it. So keep in mind, if it makes a 10% plus move and you're in it, congrats. But as you see, it's going to require a lot of liquidity to move it. People, like I said earlier, I think traders have been waiting for Nvidia to report to kind of see how the market reacts, because it does move so much of the macro market. But I will not be playing Nvidia. I will be watching it. I'm not really interested in sympathy plays on Nvidia either. If Nvidia goes up, everything's going to go up. If Nvidia goes down, everything's going to go down. So I think it's a better idea to just pick individual stocks that are reporting other than Nvidia or its sympathies. But here are your suggested strikes for Nvidia. Joby don't like, Vichy, P-Sky, I don't like any of these. Not the best narrative intel. Okay, so that was this afternoon. Let's look at Thursday morning really quick. So tomorrow morning we have reporting ACMR, which I don't know anything about really. It looks like they're involved with chips, circuitry, so maybe they do a little bit of memory. Interesting. They do a little RAM, which is interesting. So as you know, with Micron, RAM, there's been a massive RAM shortage. Micron is not going to sell to, I think they're only selling commercially now. They're not selling to retail. So this is interesting. This is worth looking at. I hate these contract prices. So right off the bat, I'm probably going to fade it, but it's got good narrative intel. If you like the RAM plays and you like chasing that narrative, ACMR might be one to look into. You only got 20 minutes or so to do your DD, but ACMR not bad. Black Sky, too cheap. Don't like the narrative intel. I'll probably pass on that one. This is crazy though. We got 5,000 contracts versus 500 for the 1750 put. I just want to see, out of curiosity, if those are bought or sold. I want to say, I mean, it's hard to tell, right? Because that $1.24, it could kind of go either way. But what we got, BKSY. Let's see really quick if these are bought or sold. 1750p for March. They're bought. These there's a lot of these that are bought. Actually, it looks like quite a lot. Yeah, that's crazy. 280,000 on the at the mid price for that. And I don't know if I'm really seeing the same sort. Oh, well, here's the thing. So the 20p, it looks like a really big sell. So there's a put spread happening on Black Sky right now. So looks like they are this trader did a mix of selling the 20p. There's also a really big order at the mid price for the 20p. But for some reason, people are really bearish. Someone's bearish on this stock. Even the 15, well, no, that's not really a big candle. Yeah, so I don't really know much about this company. I don't think it'll go that far. Yeah, it looks like the 15p is being sold. So 1750p, but this, I think, thinking about it too much. It's not really a good priced stock. So for what it's worth, interest on the 1750p for BKSY, but I'm gonna fade it just because I don't really know much about the company. And I think there's just better options to look at. But that is a consideration. Shake Shack. I don't really like trading like consumer defensive stocks like Shake Shack. They're like the food, the restaurant business stocks, like the Kavas, the Chipotles. I personally don't like trading those. Maybe every once in a while. But this is interesting. There's pretty good volume over OI for both the 104 call and the 87p. Actually, this to me looks like they're selling the 104 and they're buying the 87p. So that actually makes it a little bit more interesting to me. Let's look at the narrative intel. Narrative intel is good. The moon giving us the moon emoji. That is positive for a good move. Maybe Shack is an option. So maybe Shack Strangle. Maybe I kind of like that. It's not the best opportunity, but I like this. I like this 87p. We can see, let's look really quick. I would imagine those are bought, or at least the majority are bought. Well, let's look really quick. We got the Shack, we got the 87p. You know what? They are sold. So those are all on the bid. So Shake Shack might have just left my list with that. Yeah, 240K on the bid there. So these are all sold. This 87p, they are all in the bid. To me, that is typically bearish. So I'll probably fade Shack now. Don't really like it anymore. 4, interesting stock here. I want to say they're more like I don't think they're like a point of sale company. I don't think they're similar to like Bill.com and that kind of thing, but they do something with end-to-end payments offerings and that sort of thing. Narrative Intel likes it for a volatile move. We can look at the suggested contracts here. 65, that's 14% out of the money. The 50 put is almost 12% out of the money. It's not the best price for a stock. It's 56.60, so a 10% move up is 61 bucks. Down is just below 50. So I don't know. Maybe there's something there. That actually would make sense with these two strike prices, and they're both March 20 expiration, so they expire next OPEX. So 4, I like 4 more now. I like 4. I like so far. I'll make my list in my head. I got PSTG, Snowflake, and 4. It's kind of like those 3 so far. Butterfly Network. I don't know anything about this stock, and it's way too cheap for me to even consider. So we'll get out of that one. INDV, don't know much about. Celsius, we can look at Celsius. I did not know this, but I knew the Alani, but Celsius bought Rockstar Energy. I didn't know that. Pretty weird, pretty crazy. It looks like they're just kind of trying to monopolize all energy drinks except for Monster. And that Monster chart, if you guys want to see a crazy chart, look at Monster's long-term chart. That stock has been on a tear. So maybe there's juice with Celsius. Not really quite sure. I don't know what the share float on Monster is. Celsius has kind of a decent share float, 189 million shares. That's not massive, but it's also not tiny. So something worth looking at there. But if you let's say you're a big energy drinker, you drink Alani's, you like the Celsius drinks, play Celsius. I think it makes sense to trade stocks that fit your likes or your lifestyle or that kind of thing. So if you're a tech guy and you like building computers, trade stocks that sell RAM, right? Trade stocks that are focused on memory and data storage and that kind of thing. If you're into energy drinks and you drink Celsius every day, why not trade it? All I'm saying. So Celsius, an interesting one. Worth looking at / trading. Warby Parker, meh. Too cheap. Papa John's, meh. Smucker, don't like that. LNG, I love LNG. I love liquefied natural gas. Don't like the company Cheniere. VST we'll look at because I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just because the tickers are the same, but VST, VRT, I don't know why there's like a connection there in my mind with them. It's probably just because the tickers are almost exactly the same. But VST is a Wall Street darling. Like Wall Street loves this stock for some reason. They love VST and they love Bloom Energy, both energy related stocks. So maybe there's a connection there. But VST is definitely one to look into this afternoon, I think. And I like these strike prices. To me, this looks bullish. This looks like they're selling the put here, which is a really cheap put, and it's 14% out of the money. And it looks like they're buying the 185 call. So it's got good narrative intel. I like VST calls here. I myself, because I'm very stingy with where I put my earnings money, I'm probably not going to trade VST, but if I had money burning a hole in my pocket, if I just made good money on like odd puts today or GoDaddy puts or Circle calls, then I might throw $200 at a 185 call just to kind of see how it goes, maybe just for the feels. Novavax, don't like it. Baidu, don't like it. Hormel, don't like it. Don't really like any of these reporting that we got another. So QBTS. So keep in mind, those are two quantums that are reporting. So we got QBTS, D-Wave tomorrow morning, and we got IonQ this afternoon. So do some time traveling. Pretend like you're watching CNBC tomorrow afternoon. You're at the gym, you're working out. Some talking head gets on the screen and they go, oh, quantum stocks, blah, blah, blah. That's a narrative for you. I'm just saying, time travel. Put yourself in the mind of yourself 15 hours from now. More than that, but you know what I'm saying. No, actually, yeah, 15 hours from now. So, yeah. So, anyways, those are the stocks reporting this afternoon. I'm going to get off really quick so that I can place my own trades and hopefully share some to Twitter. But like I said, for me personally, it's going to be PSTG. So I like the Pure Storage Strangle. I like the Snowflake Strangle. Yep, here we go. I like the PSTG Strangle. I like the Snowflake Strangle. I'm going to do those two. And I like the 4 Strangle reporting tomorrow morning. So I hope this was somewhat helpful to you guys. If it was, I never said this before, but like the video, subscribe, and then we'll keep doing these. Yeah, SNPS for the, sorry, I just checked out the chat. Yeah, SNPS for the DGens, do it. But yeah, no, like and subscribe. I hate saying that, but I'm going to say it because I'm a YouTube guy now. And we'll do this. I'll do this as much as I can. I really enjoy these streams. But yeah, best of luck to everyone. I hope you hit a banger and make some money for the rest of the week.